Okay. Thank you, Katona. Okay, I'm going to start off here with a question. Who knows what the motto of the state of New York is? It's Excelsior. It means upward, not necessarily in terms of taxes, but upward. So what's written on the Great Seal of the United States on the back of the dollar bill? That's Annuit Scieptus, which means God has favored our undertaking. Below the pyramid, if you look on the back of the dollar bill, is Novus Ordo Seclorum, which means the new order of the ages. So what unites all these phrases I've mentioned? They're all in Latin. The language is literally in our wallets and on our state tax forms. So I've been thinking about Latin and also Greek more than usual these days. The study of Latin and Greek has been in the news recently at my alma mater, a Latin phrase, Princeton University. This spring, Princeton announced that the classics track, which required an intermediate proficiency in Latin or Greek to enter the concentration in the classics department, has been eliminated, as was the requirement for students to take Greek or Latin. So this announcement at Princeton sparked a lot of commentary, and I avidly followed the debates there because of something of a personal connection. Back in the bicentennial summer of 1976, as a high school graduate in Mission, Texas, heading to Princeton, I mused, from the Greek word muses, get it? On the notion of majoring in classics there. Well, why did I want to study classics? Well, I had always liked reading Roman and Greek mythology, and that interest spread from literature onto the actual languages. That's clear from an entry in my journal from May 1972 involving my 8th grade science teacher, Mrs. Morris, with a reference to a science convention trip. So I wrote, before taking the test, I asked Mrs. Morris to sign my annual with something in Latin. Because on the convention trip, she said she knew it. She gave me a phrase, ego amo tu, to figure out on a slip of paper. She wound up writing no Latin on my annual, just modern English. So with zero background in Latin or Greek, I really did think about going to Princeton to study classics. So I set my mind to study Greek that glorious summer of 1976. I didn't know an alpha from an omega, so I checked out Introduction to Greek from the public library and diligently applied myself to it. I still have a page of my efforts to learn the Greek alphabet and vocabulary. I wrote a page of exercises in my journal on May 2nd, 1976, beginning appropriately with the word nemesis. You can see the whole page on the blog post I'm putting up to accompany this open mic on my blog, Mission to Moscow. Well, I never took Latin or Greek at Princeton. I opted instead for Spanish, which I had studied in high school. And once I'd finished my language requirement, that ended my language study at Princeton, anyway. Still, my interest in the classical world remained. I did a honeymoon in Rome in 1989, Latin everywhere. In 2005, on a whim, I bought Wheelock's Latin, which is the classic textbook for learning the language. And every now and then I like to take it down off the shelf and flip through it and get a sense of what I missed by not studying Latin at Princeton. In 2012, I published a memoir with a Greek reference right in the title, A Kosher Dating Odyssey. In the text, I used the names of mythological figures as code names for the women I met. One was Hecuba, queen of Troy and mother of Hector, Paris, and Cassandra. Another was Calypso, the dangerous and alluring nymph who held Odysseus captive for 7 years. In recent weeks, the classical world came charging at me like a minotaur, thanks to thrillers I got right over there at the Katona Library. First, I read The Order by Daniel Silva, followed immediately by The Last Odyssey by James Rollins. Both begin with ancient documents housed in the ultra-secret Vatican Library. Then they branch out to secret societies with nefarious world-changing agendas. The Order, concerning a plot to appoint the Pope, has more Latin in it, including passages from the Gospel of Pontius Pilate. The last Odyssey, which treats the journeys of Odysseus as factual, reads like a classical version of the movie National Treasure. You know, that's the one with the treasure map on the back of the Declaration of Independence. Both of these books have satisfyingly bonkers conspiratorial plots that are catnip for me. Well, don't worry, I'm not going to stand here and don a toga and dig into my wheelock anytime soon. Other languages have more urgency for me, including Spanish, Hebrew, and Portuguese. Still, a little Greco-Latin awareness goes a long way. It's my little bit of a way of tending to the roots of Western civilization. Meanwhile, back at my alma mater in New Jersey, the motto remains De sub numini viget, under God's power she flourishes, or as we Tigers like to say, God went to Princeton, where no doubt the Almighty studied classics. Thank you.